And here I am back again. As you can hear, we have some announcement here at the IFA, because today it's still not open to the public. It's more professional visitors who are coming in here, and you are more than welcome, of course, because it's about your question. And this time it's about digital imaging or the world of LUMIX. And therefore I have my expert, Mark, here with me.
Hi, Patrice. How
Welcome to Berlin.
Thank you very much.
Well,
wonderful to be here.
Yeah, well, let's see how beautiful it's going to be, because I announced you now as an expert, and I know when it comes to LUMIX, there are always a lot of tough questions coming in.
Okay, well, we'll do what we can to answer the viewers' questions, but let's see how it goes.
Yeah, well, apparently it's going to be a lot about the G5 that you are handing there.
Absolutely. This is the new LUMIX G5. It sits just ahead of the G3.
Yep.
As you can see behind us, we have the full range of LUMIX G series cameras. And yeah, brand new. Fantastic features, which we'll hopefully go through.
Okay, so this part is going to be simply only about the LUMIX cameras, or are we also going to have some glimpse about the HD camcorders, anything like that?
We'll be doing a specific day on Saturday around camcorders and also imaging LUMIX, how that fits in the photography world. But today is predominantly about the LUMIX G5.
So I'm willing, of course, just to transfer your questions, as the first one coming from Dave. What is the difference between the G5 and the new LX model?
Well, the G5 has a micro four thirds sensor. What was it, the LX?
The LX model.
Yeah,
so
the LX7.
Currently would be like the LX7?
The current LX7 and the LX5 have different sensors. So from that point of view, the LX7 is a compact, top-end compact camera. The G5 is a micro four thirds sensor, or a digital SLM, M meaning mirrorless. And what we've done there with our G series since 2008, we've taken out what you normally find with the digital SLR is they have a prism and a mirror box. We've taken that out of the G series cameras, and we've replaced it with a very high sensitive sensor. So the sensor is closer to the lens, and what that basically means is that the camera is near enough half the size of a digital SLR. The compact LX7 is, again, a little bit smaller, but there is no compensation on image quality. All cameras obviously are very good at
also, you could say like the LX is definitely a kind of camera that you use for different, just like for everyday situation, as this one it has an interchangeable lens, so there's so much more you could do with it, and the LX7 is dedicated to.
Well, both of them have something in common, which is they're compact. So the
LX7 is it's quite far smaller than this one.
It is a little bit smaller. I mean, if you see the GF5 here, isn't that smaller compared to the
we can,
G?
But we can compare it right away. That's why we have the booth, and we have space. We can walk around.
We have the LX7 here as well.
Here it is.
So we can see the size and the actual difference.
Cameras are behind you here.
There we go. So as you can see, the LX7 is a lot smaller. But we have a brand new.
This is an option. This is like an option what we see on top of the camera right now.
Yeah, this is an electronic viewfinder. It's the same viewfinder that we can use with the GX1, which is our enthusiast retro camera, and it gives you a very high resolution inside the viewfinder itself. 1.4 million dots. So if you think a plasma screen has over 2 million individual pixels.
Light bulbs, as I learned.
Or light bulbs, absolutely, that switch on and on. Although the light bulbs on here don't switch on and off. They're basically really high resolution. So I can, again, look, different to a standard viewfinder that you get in traditional cameras. Right. I can actually alter the motion here, so I can look down, or if I'm doing macro shots, I can actually do that, or just traditionally.
No, but why I said this is optional is because, of course, you can take it off.
And I can take it off as well. But
and then in general, the camera is like small enough. I mean, it's still going to be bulky in your pocket, but at least you can fit it into a pocket.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is going to be a little bit more difficult with the G5.
That's right. And this is a fixed lens. It's a very fast, wide aperture lens. And I'll just show you if I take that lens off, put that in your hand, see how light that is.
Yep.
They both have premium feels and feels to it as well. And as you can see with the micro four thirds mount here, it's a metallic finish, so it's really high quality. So, and from a design cosmetic point of view, it looks good as well.
Yeah, so I would say we pretty much pointed out the most differences between the two models, the G5, as Mark has it in his hand, and the LX7, which just came out like a month or so.
Yeah, less than that. And I have to say, I've used it a few times over the last few weeks, and I'm very impressed with how fast it is, how bright it is, and not only that, from still photography, the video output is very smooth as well, which you'll find with the G5 as well. We've got video output in AVC HD format. For those of you not familiar with that format, it's a format that we use on our televisions and our AV devices, so it's compatible with that. We also record in MPEG-4, which is more commonly used, the easier transfer to PC, mobile devices, etc. The resolution is still very high, but the output is a little bit less than the 50 progressive video output on the G5.
Okay, I see. So, I mean, this is what we do in all of this, because all these cameras, all these body devices are dedicated to great pictures, but then, of course, there's special need that these different models are supposed to cover then, and exactly that's what we're going to talk about here. So thank you, Dave, for this question. See, that's it.
Yeah, excellent.
That doesn't even hurt. That was your first question coming from our viewers. Coming to the next one from Mark Billing. Mark Billing would like to know, what is DSLM stand for?
Well, DSLM is identifying our Micro Four Thirds sensor compact camera, compact digital SLM for mirrorless. Like I said, there is no mirror box or prism in the unit itself, so we're using the full view of the full area of the sensor to give us, if not the same, but more increased quality of picture.
But isn't it somehow just a different way of saying like 4/3? I mean, because that's what it was considered.
No, absolutely not, because with the sensor comes the compact body and the feel. So if I had an equivalent digital SR-like camera with this,
but just like naming it DSLM, it's just like, oh, okay, we just want to make sure. Yeah, this is a camera just like a DSLR, but it is not R, it's M. Really
well, yes, yeah, absolutely. It works in instead of the reflex technology, it uses a sensor instead with no mirror or prism. So clearly identifying that the LUMIX G series is a product that can offer the same, if not better, in certain circumstances with digital SLR formats.
So wouldn't you agree that perhaps it's really more a matter of communication, because the DSLR has been there quite for a few decades, actually for many years.
Yeah, and
so now you're coming up with some improved technology. Isn't it kind of that you really need to counsel, but also just to inform people about the latest technologies? I think that's the toughest job you're doing right now, convincing people, because the first thought is like, wait a minute, I'm having less than before. Is that really better for me?
Well, less in the sense of the weight, the body size, no less in quality of picture. And video. You don't, I mean, we have here, you don't have to be a whiz on imagery and photography to use this camera. Right. Likewise with the LX7 or the compact and the rest of the range we have here, which we'll see a little bit later on in the week. We have what is award-winning intelligent auto processing. So with the flick of a button, if I can show you on here, I can actually just press the IA button and it'll come up a nice blue light. And what that will actually do for me is near enough everything. So if I was to, say, focus on a camera here, for example, let's come back a bit. If you can see in the top left-hand corner, it's come up macro, so the closer I get to the actual camera itself, it's actually focusing on the area of the subject itself. And trying to blur out the background. So I'm getting some real good kind of creative
Were you just focusing like with the touch? Is this the touch screen?
This is touch screen.
Okay.
I can, if I select if I take intelligent auto off, for example, I can actually, if you can see that, it's be easier if I do hold that. I can actually move the sensor, the cursor around the screen.
Yep.
Wherever it finishes, it immediately focuses, so it's really, really fast. I can also change the size of the focus button. So for example, I've got edge-to-edge clarity all the way through the screen here. So wherever I leave it, so how this works quite well is if I was to, I don't know if the camera can see this, but if I was to do a series of There we go. See how quick that focused? And now that's blurred in the background. If I actually now touch that, it's actually focusing immediately. Likewise, mine's a little bit shaky there, but I can move it across so it focus. So I can actually be quite creative without having to worry too much about problems with stability, etc. So there we go.
So thank you for that answer, Mark. That has been your answer, and so we learned what DSLM stands for, and actually so much more about the G5 right now.
Excellent.
Coming to the next one from Andreas Ukis. What is the difference between the GH2 and the G5, which you have in your hand? Which one is better for filming?
Well, for video output, clearly the GH2 is renowned for its video photography. The sensor now that we use in the G5 is very similar to the GH2. So the bit rate or the output, the smoothness of the film, so to the what that means to the consumer is how smoother each one is. The GH2 is far superior in a way to the G5. But at the same time, with both cameras, what you can do is obviously change the lenses.
Right.
So if you wanted a telephoto shot or a wide-angle lens in video mode, you can be creative from all different. Well, at the moment we've got 16 lenses behind us to do different, shoot in different subject matters as different conditions. So you can do that by both. But GH2 is very famous. In fact, recently it was reviewed for its video output and got, it's been out for a number of years and is still high-performing product.
But still a tough question coming there, because you are now, as an expert, there to tell them like which one is the best one. I mean, I know like every semi-professional, even professionals itself, are using the GH2 for some reason. Also, it's been long on the market than the G5. But can you really say it that easy? Which one is better? You just can.
Well, it's very close. It is very close, and that just gives us the, that shows where the technology in the G5 now has come over since the GH2 was released a few years ago. So it is very close together. But
which is still not an answer, really. It's like close together. Is like, which one would you recommend?
Well, I would recommend that the GH2 is the best for video, whether it's professional. Well, more so from a professional level, yeah, you're absolutely right. But for everyday use, maybe for studying or any kind of use, then the G5 is absolutely right up there.
See, that's an answer that I can live with, and I hope also Andreas Kios as Ukis as well. So continuing with the next one, coming from Dave Twiggy. Is the battery life better on the G5 than a G3? Has there been some improvement?
Yeah, absolutely. The battery life now on the G5 is actually the same battery that we use in the GH2. So the GH2 would roughly give you around 300 to 320 images in full.
But it's not only a matter of the battery, it's also like what you do with the energy.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, again, I use our own cameras quite a lot, and I was out in South America a few years ago, and I had one battery, and I was taking shots, taking videos, and it would last me all day. And that was literally on and off, on and off. But if I was going to use the camera, for example, the G5, consistently at the highest megapixel, then it would give me roughly around 320 images, whereas the G3 was roughly around 270. So you might think that's not much, but actually longevity of this is
so you can say the G5 has, first of all, like the same battery as the GH2, which is more powerful.
Yeah, more powerful. It has to be. Obviously, we just talked about video and the professional aspect of the camera, so we've taken that element now into the G3.
So I expect then also, like, it's also a matter of software management. That's what I learn a lot when it comes to batteries, that software management does a lot.
It all works together. You're absolutely right.
So I would believe that there's been some improvements, so you can pretty much say, yes, the G5 is more energy efficient than the G3, but came with some more features that...
Yeah, it has, it's that longevity of the life of the battery. Yeah. Yes, it works very closely with the sensor and the processor, the Venus Engine 7 processor. So again, we're looking at black box technology that we've taken a little bit further. So it's
black box technology? Black
box technology.
In order when it crashes to know why it crashed?
No, what I mean by that is unique Panasonic LUMIX Leica technology to develop, to give to the end user the best picture quality that he can get from a digital SLM camera.
Okay, so Dave, this has been your answer then. Coming to the next one. You doing fine so far?
Good, yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Just want to make sure that you feel
Yeah,
comfortable here at the booth. And also, I'm trying to find something else. Yeah, it happens. It happens sometimes.
Okay.
It's a live feed that we have here, so that's why we have some backup questions. As this one from Attila, what are the benefits of Panasonic's lightweight lenses? Yeah, because you just gave me one of these and they were quite light.
Yeah, again, as you can see behind us, there are 16 lenses here. The lenses they are the same here. The advantage of the lenses I won't be able to take any out of the cabinet here, but this is a 14 to 42 kit lens that you get with the camera, and the equivalent of that.
What is it that you need? I get everything here.
The equivalent of that is where are we?
What do you need? I got the 14 to 42.
There we go. That's what I'm looking for.
That
so if you can take that off, you press the metal button in. Okay.
I'm familiar with
this is the same focal length as each other. Now, this traditionally was kitted with most of our cameras and still is. But as you can see, it's a lot smaller. Now, the advantage of the technology that we've put into here is that we've got something called nano surface coating. And what that basically means is less distortion, less ghosting. So if you're shooting in low light, for example, you're going to get sharper images, say, with this one. But that doesn't take away from this, that this is a very good lens in itself. But if I now put this back onto the body of the camera, and how we do that, we line up the red dots together here. And we just slowly put that in. When I now put this lens camera on, can you still see the difference? So that earlier was at its widest angle, which is 14 millimeters. Now that's at its widest angle of 14 millimeters. That is now at its longest zoom, which is 42. If I now put that on there and extend that to 42, you can actually see the difference is actually quite remarkable. Of course, this has a power zoom in it, so it has a motor inside.
A silent, by the way.
And it's silent as well. So
which
if
is
you're
good
shooting,
for filming.
Absolutely. So if you're in we're just seeing a band in a theatre or it's dark at night, and you want to be quiet, you do be discreet, you don't want to upset people around you, etc. Then you.
That tells me a lot about what kind of music you're listening to. That would make a difference.
Well, yeah, I couldn't possibly comment on that. But as you can see, the size is quite remarkable. Both lightweight, but when I turn this off and then move that back again to its widest angle, it is, so again, it's about compactness. So lightweight as well.
But also like some developments that just came along, because in the end, the process when it comes to a lens mostly is made of glass anyway, and glass is always going to weigh the same amount.
Yes, it is.
But apparently you've been using some technologies that manage it just to deal with current physics, but still having a lighter lens.
And this is what I mean about the black box technology, is that the technicians and the engineers in Yamagata that create our lenses in Japan are, having to cram very, fine glass into a body like this is quite a challenge. And we also have another lens, and we'll be covering lenses a bit later on in the week. So,
which one is it going to be?
Well, that'll be the 45 to 150. We've got the 12 to 35 mil lens as well.
Tele lens, teleobject?
No, it is a telezoom, at that angle. And then we've also got the 45 to 175 zoom lens as well. So we can go into more detail about that, but that's similar technology, that lens with that.
Good, then
hopefully that answers
Till, this has been your answer then. Continuing with Union V, how does the everything is about the G5, once again.
Exactly.
How does the G5 perform in low light conditions?
Okay, well, if I compare it, say, to the LUMIX G3, which is obviously what this kind of supersedes, the LUMIX G3 was actually very good in low light conditions, and still is, because it's still current. It has an ISO setting, so the sensitivity of how much light comes onto the sensor of around ISO 6400. This is double. So what, again, that means to people that are going to be looking at this for a future purchase or currently have it for advice, is that in lower light conditions, there'll be less need to use the flash. And at the same time, you'll be able to have increased shutter speeds and lower shutter speeds as well. So overall performance is, I've been taking some shots. Oh, there goes my earpiece, excuse me. I've been taking
listening again some of this quiet music.
It's that music, absolutely. Took some shots earlier while we were setting out over the last few days, and the performance of this in these low light conditions is very good. So really bright, less noise, or what we call grain in the film, but you could use that to your advantage if you wanted to be creative with your photography.
And that's the point. Sometimes like try and error. That's what I recommend everyone when it comes to cameras.
Photography is all about fun, and you make lots of mistakes, and I'm speaking from experience here, but there'll be some gems along the way that you'll pick out that you'll love and cherish for a long time.
Nothing beats experience.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. So Union 5, this is your answer. Continuing with a question coming from. Well, and you've been out.
No.
Yeah, it just happens.
We're just
sometimes.
waiting, are we? Okay.
No, that's not a problem, because I also have like
Excellent.
Still my backup questions coming up here. This one is then from Josephine Jacob. That's the question that I'm going to be able to reply.
Go for it.
Does the G5 record full HD video? I would say, without reading it, yes. I would
Yeah.
expect it to do full HD.
Yes, and that's the development we've made with the sensor. So we're using areas of the processing sensor now to increase video output. So we can get near enough to broadcast quality, and what I mean by that is what you see on the television, the smooth, high-definition output. You can actually do that in the home as well. So we've got full HD, that's 1080, so we're talking about 10.
This gentleman comes in from time to time for refreshments and just setting everything right.
Yeah, just setting my music. There we go,
Okay.
thank you. So full HD. So televisions, for example, are made up of moving lines of information. And older standard televisions would have something like 500 odd lines of information. Full HD now is 1,000.
Depending if it's NTSC or PAR.
Well, depending on what part of the world you live in, you're absolutely right. Same happens with our technology. So 1080 lines of information is full in progressive mode. We won't go into too much detail how that technology works, but
take your time. That's what we're here for. If it needs to be explained, that's why we need you, so you can explain it properly.
Well, the interlaced technology that we've used on the G3, which means it's reading odd and even lines, you won't see it to the naked eye, but if you then compare, say, the subject matter that you're recording against a progressive output, which is what this camera now does, this is 1080p, it's reading all the lines of information together. So what that means, if you showed both footage together, the interlaced would be just slightly a little bit of lag, so it'd just be slightly catching up. Still a very good picture, obviously, because the G3 is still a very good camera. But the progressive output on here would be a lot smoother. So again, coming back to one of the questions we had earlier was, this camera would have better video output than, say, the G3, and the GH2 just has that slight ahead of this one.
Well, but then again, because you just, it just seems like you're defending the G3.
That's it's an amazing camera.
Yeah, because that's the normal way of things. That's the way it is. I mean, if you recall all the first pictures you took with your cell phone when they introduced like cameras to your cell phone, have you tried to watch these pictures by now? You would say like, how could I just?
Well, that is the difference between, say, a camera phone and a digital SLM.
So I expect the G5 to be better than the G3 in the first place anyway.
And, a camera phone is a phone with a camera. Yeah, this is a digital SLM camera. This is a high-end camera.
Okay, and we're going to stay with the G5 as the next one by M1 Busman. Is how many AF points, autofocus points, are there on the G5?
Okay, well, we can show you that on here. So, I mean...
Is the but right away, the amount of autofocus, first of all, you need to explain what the autofocus points marks are.
So you showed earlier where we were actually pointing at different areas of the screen, so I can move that around. That's 1 point, okay?
But apparently there's cameras who are having more than just one, and why?
Why? Because you may be photographing a landscape or even a moving subject where you want a lot of the actual photograph or image in focus. So you may not have the time to actually pinpoint areas.
But isn't it that's why you call it focus, because you focus on one specific point, having more of them?
You can now 23 area focus. I've just selected that, so I press the menu button.
All right.
Sorry, press the left button, which brings up my AF mode. So as I just showed there, we've got a spot focus. I'm now setting it for 23 area, and it will now, the sensor will pick up the most sensitive area spots of what you're looking at. So if you can see now, I'm actually moving it around, and I've actually got a number of boxes. So
are there like some examples that you would give? So when it comes to a landscape, for instance, then you should have the most autofocus points there are?
It depends on the user and depends on the conditions. I tend, personally myself, I tend to use the spot focus, but a little bit bigger, because I may see something at the last minute where I want to just focus on mainly. But in general, you probably would use something like if you had, I don't know, a windmill on a landscape with a gate and say a tree, and you wanted the windmill and the part of the gate in focus, then you'd probably use as many areas as you can. Or if I then select spot focus, I then, for example, here, if I'm selecting that camera, I then open it up a little bit bigger, and then if, let's say, I want that corner in focus, then that will do it there. Okay. So it has 23 different areas of focal points, but at the same time, let's come out of that. I can also auto track. So if we're at the Formula 1 or at the horse racing, we can actually put our finger on the car coming around the track. And the
camera would actually see the movement of that.
Yeah, I mean, you still will have to kind of keep your hand steady when you're actually filming.
For the frame. Yes. But so as long as the object is within the frame, then he would follow that.
Yeah, so if you put your hand in front of the camera, there we go. If I focus, now if you move your hand slightly up and down, there we go. Can you see the actual auto tracking moving?
Ah, I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's picking out an area of like contrast, bright contrast, so it focuses on that. Sometimes you can lose it, but if you're going to actually, the Formula 1 car, for example, then focus, coming across, click. If you want it sharp in the middle of the screen, you can do that. Or like we showed earlier, I just press the blue button, and it does it all for you. So as long as, I can do the same.
Yeah.
So the processing, intelligent processing will actually do that for you. So there I was just in manual mode. I can do it either way. So you don't necessarily have to be experienced or amazing at photography. You can do it, if you're looking at it from an entry-level point of view as well.
Okay, so 23, this is your answer, M1 Busman. Coming to the next one, which is the same as before.
Okay.
I'll push it again, and Andreas Ukis. Again, LUMIX GX Vario. What does the X stands for?
LUMIX, could you say that again?
LUMIX GX Vario.
Okay.
What does the X stand for?
As we know, LUMIX is actually, if viewers are not aware, LUMIX means luminosity and light, and mix is the mixture of lenses that we have, so LUMIX.
Yep.
G is obviously identifying G series. Vario is actually identifying whether the camera has a zoom. And finally, answering Andreas's question about X, it's identifying our new range of technology. So
for the pancake lenses, for example.
Yes, so it's got nano surface coating, which is good for obviously less ghosting, less distortion, improved resolution. It's a little bit faster than, say, the equivalent of what we've currently had over the last couple of years. So that's the same equivalent lens there. The look. So cosmetically, it looks a lot more exciting, and it obviously complements the body of the new cameras as well a lot better as well.
So instead of a G5, it should have been the G3X then, if it's the new line?
There is a kit where you can actually buy the GF5X and the G5X as well, where you get that as standard.
But the X just comes for lenses than for cameras. Yeah. Cameras will not be declared as X.
It's just for lenses, and it identifies it's a new breed of lenses with high quality resolution, and again developing our technology to something that we've not done before, and working with our partners to actually develop that technology to give the end user, again, the consumer, really bright, sharp, photography.
See, I mean, you might think that I'm stupid, but I just learned the thing about Vario. Vario stands for zooming, so it's okay.
So Vario is identifying a lens that has a zoom within. Yeah.
So see, I'm learning. Coming to the next one, Andreas, by the way, that was your answer. Now you know what the X stands for. What I don't know is what the next question will be.
Okay, well, while we're doing that,
we have it. Can
we show you something else that we've got on here as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so not only do we have the award-winning intelligent auto, we now have have had since the GF3 is something called Intelligent Auto Plus. Now, by selecting the menu system, and I've got Intelligent Auto on with the blue button here, I go into the IA mode, and I select Intelligent Auto Plus and Set. And it doesn't bring on the voice, by the way.
I was kind of, wow.
No, that's pretty impressive, eh?
Yeah.
Now, on the right-hand side, I have a color gradation. I have a face with a mountain behind it, and I have a plus and a minus sign. So if I know, again, this is touch-free pad, I touch the plus and minus, and that's the compensation of exposure.
Yep.
So if it's too dark in a room or it's too bright, I can actually make it a little bit darker or brighter. But instead of having to find it within the menu,
room with a light window where light comes in, but
yeah,
you want
so
to
the
focus
sun
on
shining
something
through,
that's
it's a
within
little
the
bit
room.
too bright.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I don't have to go into the menu system to find how I do it. All I do is select the plus and minus, and I move my finger across here, overexposed, and I move it across here, and obviously darken it. So I can do it with a touch of a button. If I don't want to do it with my finger, I can actually move what we call the jog wheel here back to where it is. The color I can do in the same way. So if I want to make the picture, for example, cooler, I move it towards the blue. And if I want to make it warmer, I move it towards. So really easy to use. As people that are coming to IFA this week and those that you can't, one common thing throughout all our products is ease of use. And this is very easy to use. And you can obviously be creative with this technology.
Okay.
The face is basically, you can now make subjects in the foreground focused and subjects in the background blurred. So you've probably seen those creative photographs in magazines or pictures.
For myself, I usually have a
Yeah.
rangefinder. That's quite easy to work on a rangefinder.
Okay.
But when it comes to mirrorless cameras, of course, it's a little bit more tricky.
Well, we don't have the right subject matter here, but at the same time, what I can do is actually, as I move that across, it opens the aperture.
Yeah.
Okay. So it closes the aperture, so it makes it everything in the foreground and background focused. Likewise, if I move it closer to where the face is in focus and the mountain in the background is blurred, I'm actually opening the aperture wide, letting lots of light in, so I can get that creative focus, foreground, blurred background, which you tend to see a lot on social networks.
You see, what I definitely need to do is just try some of these cameras, and because you just gave me really you just gave me some lust, and I really want to try it out. All the features you just named.
When I first picked up, our LUMIX cameras many years ago, that Intelligent Auto really helped me identify how to be more creative with camera photography. And gradually, as I became more confident with the camera, I've kind of come off that. But sometimes I go back onto it because it can really, perform as well as you can manually, and kind of gets you, at the image you want. So especially in low light conditions.
And with all the help that this camera gives you, it's not going to prevent you to choose what to take a picture
Absolutely
of.
not.
I mean,
in all conditions.
That's still the main topic of these cameras. As you said, they're supposed to make fun. Here I have a question coming from Martin. I would like to see the FZ200 in action, especially these 12 photos at once, and how fast is it after that?
Okay, well, the FZ...
The FZ must be the bridge camera.
It is. We're going to be covering that in more detail later on in the week, but we'll answer the question. What's the guy's name? Martin?
Martin.
Martin's absolutely right. It shoots 12 frames per second.
I just know that you LUMIX guys, I just call you guys LUMIX guys, are totally crazy about this camera, correct?
I am, well, I'm very impressed with it. I think I said yesterday that the results of the images with the new lens is absolutely fantastic.
I just mentioned this is a bridge camera, but maybe you could explain again what's
the
the difference.
Bridge camera, this is, if you can see, actually similar to the G5 shape. So the ergonomics of it is very similar. Okay, the body with the grip here, so we've got a wider grip. So it just sits above our compact range. So it's got all the features of the compact, ease of use, the intelligent autofocus processing. And at the same time then, we can be quite creative by using the manual controls. But the key with this is it's a fixed lens. So as it's a fixed lens and we're able to develop our technology even further, we'll actually be able to put in here a 25mm to, at its widest angle, to 600mm telephoto zoom. Now, if I had the same equivalent of a digital SLR, it would probably be about this big. Okay, weigh a lot of kilograms, and the top-end ones can cost thousands and thousands of pounds, euros, and dollars. Well, we can actually create that same focal length in here, which is quite remarkable.
And the most remarkable thing, it seems to be the aperture that goes the whole distance.
It does. We have a wide aperture of f2.8.
Because usually it's getting worse the wider it gets.
Yeah, and it's telefocal lens where you need the optical image stabilizer to kick in and help from camera shake, etc. So we've got the Paralympics going on in London at the moment. We've had the Olympics. So if you were there and you wanted to take a photograph of an Olympic athlete or a Paralympic athlete in the water at the swimming event, for example, and you were high up in the stadium, you can actually focus in on that person that's swimming, and you could still make the face of that person focused and blurred in the background. You can also, as you would do if we were doing it right here now with you in front of me. So that focal, that f-stop, the aperture setting goes all the way through. So you can be even more creative. You can create fast shutter speed. So if you wanted every bit of droplet of water when that Paralympic athlete is celebrated, you could actually get those pinpoint bits of water from a long distance.
Okay, but will we be able just to demonstrate that what Martin has been asking for, these special 12 photos?
Yeah, so 12 frames a second in full high resolution.
Yeah.
It also will shoot at 20 frames a second in lower resolution. It'll actually go up to 60 frames a second. So that means taking 60 frames
it's like a high speed.
in 1 second. Yeah, it's an electrical shutter, so it's actually using the processing of the shutter to do that. And if you've got a fantastic subject matter, it might take a little bit of a while to pick out one of those 60, but you could be guaranteed that you could get one gem of a photograph in those 60 photographs. Right, so but it is a cost of lower resolution, but picture quality is still going to be very, very good.
Okay, so Martin, I hope this is going to be your answer. And now coming to the last one for this segment. Come on for the last one. Then I use one of my
your other smart device. Very good.
Yeah, it's a very smart device. It's always good to have some paper with you. Lucia would like to know how much does the body weight? So apparently talking
how much
about
does the body weigh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
we were talking about like lighter lenses. So
well, this weighs, the FZ200 weighs around 500 grams. Okay. So it's quite a chunky, heavy, but not heavy, kind of, good in the hand.
But with the G5, it depends what kind of lens you have. But the body itself?
It does, because as we identified earlier, this is a fixed lens.
Right.
So we've got, like I said here, a small kit lens, 14 to 42. If, with the use of the battery, take the body off, the lens off, for example, that will weigh 396 grams, including the battery.
I would rather say like 368 grams.
368 grams?
Instead of 6.
Where did you get that from?
You said 369?
396.
96.
Yeah, so just under 400 grams. So there's quite a big weight difference between the two.
Then 96.
So if you had, say, our 100 to 300 telephoto zoom lens on there, then obviously that's going to, increase the weight of the actual body itself. But as you see, it's, again, very lightweight and compact.
Right. But there are going to be more questions coming up later.
Brilliant.
As for this segment now, thank you so much for sending in all the questions. Don't forget that every time that you participate, there is a prize to be won every day. So you're also being part of this segment actually gave you the chance just to win a TV set. But we're going to talk about that later. So Mark, thank you so much.
Patrice,
looking
pleasure.
forward again. And
see you again later.
LX7.
We're coming
about
on
the LX7 to that later on. So this is Patrice Budibeda for Panasonic Live at IFA 2012, and see you later.